also. One of the pioneers at a community level in Detroit was a gentleman named Gerald Harrison, and he was a part of the Detroit. Well, Catherine, can you tell us a little bit about Gerald in terms of the work that he did, you know, in the community with starting the being a part of starting the ag movement in Detroit?
Yeah, Gerald worked a lot with the seniors. A lot of the urban gardening and community gardens in Detroit really started as a result of older African Americans that had come from the South originally and continued their growing traditions from the South here in the North. And Gerald Harrison was one of the people, one of the folks who worked with them, and he called them his angels. So they were called the gardening angels. And so that was really the beginning of the modern urban ag movement, was Gerald Harrison working with the elders in the community. And then as the opportunity, as we had more vacancy and the opportunity arose to expand gardening from just in the backyard to next door and somewhere else on the block, and there were more young people that got involved. What was the name of the organization?
Youth Summer?
Yeah, Detroit Summer.
Yes.
So that was a way that we had youth and elders that came together to do community gardening.
And Gerald was very creative in how he used gardening because he also believed it was a way to create a neighborhood that you wanted. So if people were doing activities in the neighborhood that the neighbors didn't particularly care about, they might take some of the things that we would use in our garden to make our soil rich and place it significantly around someone's door so that they would be discouraged from carrying on activities that we didn't like. So, but the reason this site is significant, this was Gerald's church home. It also is sitting on the site of the first integrated high school in Detroit, Eastern High School. It's underneath where our garden actually is. And so the school system has honored Gerald. There's a placard out front with his name on it. When I first started in this work in 2010 and I was developing the youth program, getting into the history, found out about Gerald. And on this site, over here in front of us where you see the trees, that's our orchard. And there are two garden plots that you see there. One is a market garden, the other is a community garden. And right behind us where we drove in is where we set up our community market in the summer, Island View Farmers Market. So it's facing the boulevard. We get traffic both from the neighborhood as well as people that are commuting, you know, on Mack Avenue. But Gerald, when he passed, the community came together, and on this very site they built a griot space, a space where people came together to talk about our history and our stories and our life experiences, particularly around food. And so we still carry that forth with this market here. The program that the youth are involved in is also connected to other youth in the city. The Greening of Detroit hosts a program called Youth Growing Detroit. And so we'll have organizations like ours connected with other youth all around the city. And they come together once a year in a summit, and they talk about their experiences in their work, but they also come together to learn. And they, all of the different youth groups on Saturdays bring their produce that they grow into the marketplace, and they sell that. So they're learning the enterprise behind selling food. So this is one of the things that Genesis Hope is doing. So the next stop we're going to go to is part of the work that we're doing in expanding the vision. So we got started humbly with a youth program, but we also are looking at a decommissioned school, which is about 10 minutes from here, and we're going to drive by there and take a look at it. And it's an example of some of the kinds of things that are being envisioned on the east side to repurpose our assets. So this decommissioned school sits right next to a park that belongs to the city. And so with the two of those spaces, we're looking at operating both production and processing in that location, with the intention of reaching out to folk in the community who are growing food, others who are have food that could be produced and value add so that we can create some levels of sustainability. We have an overall project in this area where we're convening our community to help shape those plans of action on what do we actually want to see happen in our food system. Because when you talk about food system, most people don't really know what that means, but the intention is to involve people in a variety of different ways. Like we encounter folks that, well, I drive. Well, we translate that to distribution, in our language. So Genesis has taken not only this work, but we have tied into not only the community, but because it is also connected to a church, we've tied into the Southeastern Lutheran Network, which consists of 122 churches in the area. And presently, we're working with 15 of those churches, the ones that are right here in this general place, to bring the kitchens online. Right now, they have some of the best commercial kitchens around, but they're not online. They're not a part of the process of bringing food and making food available. So we're doing an assessment of the kitchens. We're bringing those kitchens online so that the entrepreneurs and people that we're talking about will have a place where they can go and produce food. So that's going on presently, as well as their pantries and expanding their garden network. And I point that out because we wear so many different hats, and we talk about the different stakeholders that are involved. At one level, it was the youth program with the community and carrying that on. The next level up from that was to then connect to the network of churches that Genesis Hope was a part of, and bringing we have the bishop has pretty much committed to doing this food initiative as a part of a ministry mission for the Lutheran churches in this area. So there's so many different people, that we can actually involve in our work in many ways. And the project that we're going to go over and see with the decommissioned school in the park is another lens, because that was done with other community leaders looking at how do we repurpose land and buildings in our community.